Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all my Volcanic Yugioh deck profile for March 2019. Actually feels like it's been quite a while since I've done a Volcanic deck profile, but I thought, I've always loved this deck. It's always been a fun deck to play, and following my trend of all the different fire decks that I've been working on, I figured why not? Let's do Volcanics as well. It's a really awesome deck, and definitely do look into it if you're looking to play kind of a deck that you control the plays that happen in the graveyard with sending your different Volcanics for different search effects, destruction effects, and overall just recycling them back with your other cards as well. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So to start off, for the monsters, I run 3 Volcanic Rocket. This one is one of your main ones you want to summon out on the field. All the other Volcanics have effects that basically revolve around sending to the graveyard. So with Volcanic Rocket, when this card is summoned, you can add 1 Blaze Accelerator card from your deck or graveyard to your hand. So the one you go for in the deck is Blaze Accelerator Reload, which is your main trap that you use to basically send and then draw off of the Volcanic monsters you send to the graveyard. Then you can get additional effects based on which Volcanic you sent to the graveyard with the Accelerator, depending on either ones like Scattershot or Shell, you name it. Just having Volcanic Rocket able to, recycle it from the graveyard or just add it straight from your deck to your hand. Just a very good search option that can help to set up your plays for the main purpose of the deck. And I also run 3 Volcanic Scattershot. With this one, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you inflict 500 damage to your opponent. If this card is sent to the graveyard by the effect of a Blaze Accelerator card, you can send 2 Volcanic Scattershots from your hand and or deck to the graveyard to destroy all monsters your opponent controls. So basically opening up Scattershot and then having to send it with the Accelerator is your main play for the destruction, and then burning your opponent for 1,500 points of damage. And then you have other ways to recycle it back into your deck to reuse again. So it's one of your main offensive plays, just setting up them in the graveyard. The biggest weakness I would say is, if your opponent manages to banish one of the scatter shots, because then it messes up the whole play that the deck can do. So it's the one thing you want to watch out for, but if you can at least, get them back into the deck to reuse, it shouldn't be something you have to worry too much about with the deck. And then I also run 3 Volcanic Shell. Really do like that this card was reprinted in the Salamangreat structure deck. It was funny because, just all the different support that we have reprinted in the deck works very, very well with Volcanics overall. Being a Volcanic itself, once per turn, you can pay 500 life points to add 1 Volcanic Shell from your deck to your hand. This card must be in the graveyard to activate and to resolve this effect. So the main reason you want to add Volcanic Shells over and over again back into your hand is to reuse for just the Blaze Accelerator reload card, and then just keeping that draw power going, then just re-adding Volcanic Shells to use as well. So having 3 of this just for that search, and then obviously for the reshuffle back of one of our other cards that we run in the deck, which is Royal Firestorm Guards, is your main recycle card. Like I said, when you normal summon this card out, you target 4 Pyro-type monsters in your graveyard, shuffle all 4 into the deck, then draw 2 cards. I really do love that it is a draw 2 effect, just for recycling, which most of the time you'll recycle shells and scattershots back in your deck, especially scattershot after you want to reuse it, like I stated already, for the burn 1,500 and the destruction effect it has. And then I really like that it's just a draw 2. You get so many more resources, whether they be spell or traps or just other additional monsters, back to your hand to reuse with Royal Firestorm Guards. So you really can't go wrong with this card whenever you summon it out, as long as you're summoning it out with the proper, graveyard setup, of course. And I also run 2 Volcanic Counters. I really do like this card. Some people don't care for it in their Volcanic decks, but it has additional burn power. When you take battle damage while this card is in your graveyard, banish it from your graveyard. Then if there is a fire monster other than Volcanic Counter in your graveyard, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the amount of battle damage you took. So along with Scattershot and a bunch of other cards we run for burn in this deck, Volcanic Counter can really help with just additional plays when you take battle damage, and then the banish, depending on what type of monster you had in your graveyard for the burn. I definitely do like running this card in the deck. If you don't like 2 and you just want to drop it down to 1, you can adjust the numbers of Volcanic Doomfire you run in the deck, which you special summon this card out with by sending a Blaze Accelerator on the field to the graveyard. So just having this card is a true powerhouse, a 3,000 tap point monster alone in the deck deck. Just works very, very well with all the other volcanics as well. If you wanted to bump up the numbers, I'm happy with 1 in the deck, but if you want to try out 2, I would change the numbers of your volcanic counters. But just remember, raising up the number, you have to have the Tri-Blaze Accelerator out on the field to special summon this card, because you have to send it to the graveyard. So that's your only weakness if you open up this card and you don't have the Blaze Accelerator yet on the field to use. And then lastly, for monsters, I also run 3 Barrier Statue of the Inferno. Now this is also Pyro monsters, so it's usable with Royal Firestorm Guards for the recycle, but it's also just one to, shut down your opponent and all of their plays. It doesn't really stop some of the main decks that are out now, like Salamangreats, since all you can special summon while this card is out on the field are fire monsters. But it's always one that I would just recommend siding out if you do end up going up against that deck. But against other decks that don't really use fire monsters, it's just a really good card to lock them down, then go for your plays. They have to either normal summon and attack around it, which can take up a whole turn, and a battle phase, which can be very vital for some of the decks depending on what you go up against. And then if you just have 2 more options to go for, and then obviously, like I said, just recycle options, since Royal Firestorm Guard does recycle pyro monsters back into the deck. You could just keep this card and keep dishing it out against your opponent. And that is it for the monsters. We're going to change things up with this deck profile. Instead, go into the traps before the spells. Real game changer. There, I run 3 Blaze Accelerator Reload. This card's name becomes Tri-Blaze Accelerator while it is in the spell and trap card zone. And during either player's main phase, you can send 1 Volcanic card from your hand to the graveyard. And if you do, draw 1 card. You can only use this effect of Blaze Accelerator Reload once per turn. And during either player's main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard to send 1 Volcanic card from your deck to the graveyard. So you have the send from the hand. So if you have Shell in your hand, you can ditch it, then pay the 500 to search another one and also get the draw power. And you also have the chance when it's in the graveyard, you can send other options, or if you reverse that order, you had Scattershot in hand, send it off of that effect, or just send Scattershot directly from the deck and get the other 2 sent from the deck as well for the burn 1500, then destroying all your opponent's cards. 3 of this is definitely needed in the deck for sure. The fact that it just counts as Tri-Blaze Accelerator is all the more helpful with the deck. And I'm also trying out 2 Blazing Mirror Force. Just wanted to decide what my lineup for the traps, and the fact that the deck does burn a lot. I was debating between this and Magic Cylinder. If you have Magic Cylinder and you want to give that a shot, you can try that also, just for additional burn with all the other cards. But Blazing Mirror Force destroys monsters as well, so it's that option that I like as well. And you don't really lose too much life with cards in your deck. I don't run the Solemn Engine in this deck, and the only thing you really pay life for is the Volcanic Shell, 500 life points at a time. So Blazing, depending on the type of monster you go up against, shouldn't really hurt your deck too much compared to other cards especially. And since it does take care of your monsters against your opponent, it's the one reason I do like it over Magic Cylinder. And I also run 3 Gozen Match, just being able to control 1 attribute, since you run only fire in the deck. Really limits your opponent depending on the type of deck you go up against, so very, very helpful in that sense for sure. Same with Rivalry of Warlords. We run only Pyro monsters in the deck, so just having this as more control with Gozen Match is all the more helpful, and the fact that we run Magic Planter and all these continuous traps just helps for more draw power as well. And then lastly, for the traps, I run 2 Summon Limit, just limiting your opponent. I don't summon too much in the deck overall. Neither player can summon more than twice, and unless I really need to go for an extra deck play, which just is if I need an answer against my opponent, I won't activate this card, or just I'll send it away with Magic Planter and then be free to use as many summons as I want. But if you want to adjust your numbers and run 3 summon limits, you can always take out one of either the Gozen Match or the Rivalry of Warlords and put in a 3rd copy of this card. And that is it for the traps. We'll now move on to the spells. Definitely does sound weird when you say that, but oh well. I run 3 Magic Planters. You send 1 face-up continuous trap you control to the graveyard to draw 2 cards, which is the majority of the traps that you run in the deck, aside from the Blazing Mirror Force. So you should always have this option, and it's why I like to run 3. You just go through the deck so fast with this Royal Firestorm Guards. You just have so much draw power to grab the cards you need for your plays overall. And I also run 3 Pot of Duality. You don't run, or you don't need to special summon too much with this deck, so you're not limited. In fact, I just think it's more beneficial to search out the card you properly need with Pot of Duality, and then use it, whether it be just, Volcanic Rocket for the search, or just a needed trap card for your plays. And then lastly, to finish up the spells, I also run one Foolish Burial, pretty standard, just sending the monster you need to the graveyard, depending on the type of effect. Most of the time I send Volcanic Shell or Scattershot, depending on what I need, obviously, but very, very helpful for sure. And lastly, I spoke of it already, but 2 Foolish Burial Goods. Now, this one is for obviously just sending the Blaze Accelerator Reload to the graveyard faster to get its banish effect for a send. You only really need 1 of the Blaze Accelerators on the field to use for the discard draw or to send Volcanic Doomfire, which is why I like to run 2 Foolish Burial Goods compared to the Blaze Accelerator. So just to have those 2 options to send, but still have the 1 available and open to, use on the field. And that is it for the main deck. When I move on to the extra, I run 1 Link Karibo. Now this one I really like with the Volcanic Shell, just to get Shell into the graveyard. And with Summon Limit, you could just summon Shell, get Link Karibo out, and that could be your 2 summons for the turn, having the defensive Link Karibo out on the field, and then being able to re-add back Volcanic Shells with its effect in the graveyard, to be able to summon out again to tribute to get Link Karibo back from the graveyard, just to keep that plan going. It's an alternate option if you don't want to use Volcanic Shell for the discard for the Blaze Accelerator. Plus, I also run 1 Doolittle Chimera, just fire monsters, pretty generic there. Same with Nightmare Cerberus and Nightmare Phoenix. I also run 1 Akashic Magician for just when you need the type bounce. Also 1 Summon Sorceress, and also 1 Topologic Bomber, and 1 Saryuja. When I can get Saryuja out, it definitely does help just for the recycle, if I need to recycle Scatter Shots back into the deck for other plays. And I also run 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 Gaga Cowboy. When I can get the burn off, it definitely does come in handy. 1 Exoton Knight, 1 number 39 Utopia, and 1 Utopia the Lightning. And also 1 Tornado Dragon, and 1 number 41 Baguska. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. I definitely do enjoy the deck, and I'm glad I was finally able to give an update to it. So definitely give it a try if you're looking for kind of a control sort of burn deck, if you're a fan of those type of decks. Definitely budget as well, so if you're looking for those type also, definitely one to look into for sure. But that is it for the video. I hope you all enjoyed. Until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.